folks who believe that there are no viruses, or particularly that the COVID virus hasn't been isolated. I'm not sure if, how much time you put in or energy into that. I've interviewed Andrew Kaufman and some of the folks who kind of promoting that idea. Personally, I'm not 100% sold on this idea. I think there's some research needs to be done. I do think there's some interesting data out there about FOIA requests that have been put out trying to get governments, can you provide me proof of isolation? But in general, what are your thoughts on this? Is this distraction, division? What do you think about that topic?
I think it's distraction, and it may even be intentional distraction. There are standard virology lab techniques that have been used for decades. Viruses are transferred into one cell culture versus another. They're isolated in order to be able to make vaccines. So of course they've been isolated. We can see them on electron microscopy. So we can actually physically see the viruses, and we can basically determine the entire genetic sequence of the virus. We can understand every single protein within the virus. So the viruses clearly exist. They've clearly been isolated because we make vaccines out of them. If they couldn't be isolated, we could actually never make a vaccine. The Chinese actually have the Sinovac coronavac vaccine is the isolated SARS-CoV-2 virus killed and given as a vaccine. So these claims are they're not useful claims. I don't think they're helping us get to any solution. And they're just, I think, distractions of people who just honestly don't understand standard virology and vaccine
techniques. So when someone says, this is one of the arguments I've heard, when their argument is when you look into the word isolation and the way virologists use it, they don't use it in the same sense that, so if I say I'm going to isolate the coins out of your pocket, all I have in my hand is coins, and they're saying that the process that's used to isolate viruses is not as clean cut as that, and that there's other material in there. And so this is their argument. Would you say that comes from a place of total lack of understanding?
Yeah, it's a lack of understanding. No, they're clearly isolated. I mean, the viruses are isolated, and it's actually purified in order to give us a vaccine.
Okay.
So they have to be isolated.
Okay, well, thank you for addressing that. I just wanted to get your opinion. The final